Good evening from Vietnam. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Mo. Thanks a lot for spending your afternoon joining our insight sharing and share your stories to our global audiences. And on behalf of the listeners around the world, we would like to say thank you.
Thank you, and good afternoon. I know it's evening in your area, so...
Well, Mo, you have a new friend in the country that is famously known with pho. So it's not like your time when you're in Seattle to having pho is totally different between, like the pho you had in Seattle and the pho you are going to have in Vietnam. So now you have a new friend. So if you plan to travel here with your family, with your friend, you let us know, and I'll make sure that pho is one of the things that we're gonna, take you out for a trial, okay?
Thank you. Yes, hopefully I can make it and eat a lot of pho. So.
Absolutely. No, we have different kind of food also. So pho is just one. We have others.
Yeah, I know. There's banh mi sandwiches. There's a lot of the dishes with meat. I tried the escargot soup with snails once, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I know there is a lot of French influence on the cuisine.
Yeah, and it tastes really, really good also. And but since you know about our culture already, it's very honor if we can have our audience can have you to do a little introduction of who you are and the work you are doing. Would you please do that for us?
Yes, my name is Mohammed Raei. I'm a PhD doctor. I'm not a medical doctor. So if you need medical advice, I might give you some, but you have to be responsible for the results. I was born and raised in Jordan. When I was 17 and a half years old, I went to the US to study industrial engineering, and I came back 4 years later because my dad passed away. We had a family business, and I worked in it. So by training, I became a dairy technologist. The company produced yogurt and cheese and these kinds of things. So I had to learn dairy science and dairy technology and food technology, microbiology. So even before I actually graduated, I decided that I wanted to be multidisciplinary. So I had interests not just limited to engineering or business. I had so many different interests. I still do have many different interests, technology, all of these things. So I was fortunate that my dad worked in Germany. He's from Jordan. He was from Palestine, and then moved to Jordan after the 1948 hostilities. And he worked in Germany. So when we were young, we'd go to Germany every other year. And that had a bit of influence on me. Then I went, I knew that I wanted to go to the US when I was about to finish high school. So I went and studied industrial engineering, and then came back, worked for the family business. And then I left the family business, and I started doing technical sales for machineries and doing technical consulting on the machineries. And then I realized that I was good in the consultative selling area. So I decided that I want to become a consultant. And then I was looking for programs in the US, and my cousin was in Seattle, and he told me about the university where I did the master's. I looked at the different things they did, and they had organization development, they had a whole systems design, they had management. It wasn't a traditional MBA, so I ended up going to Seattle, and then later I did my PhD in leadership and change. So both my master's was in management and leadership, and then my PhD was in leadership and change. So that's as far as my educational background. I'm also a credentialed ICF coach. I got to the coaching a bit later. Originally, I was like, I want to do facilitation because I like working with groups, and I still do. And then I also found that I also like one-on-one doing the coaching work. And then I started doing also dissertation coaching for doctoral students.
So this is dissertation coaching for doctor client students, right?
The dissertation coaching is different than regular coaching. So regular coaching, you try to 70 to 80% of the time, you're not providing any suggestions to the client. You're asking questions, and using these questions, the client gets to find their own solution or their next steps. Whereas with dissertation coaching, I provide a lot of the expertise. So the client might not know a specific methodology. So I mix when I do dissertation coaching. Sometimes I ask coaching questions. What's most important, or what topic resonates with you the most? What's the most important research question? What research resonates with your values? So I mix a bit of the coaching, the executive coaching, with the dissertation coaching. But in pure executive coaching, you're not supposed to offer advice without the asking the client first, can I offer a suggestion, for example? Whereas with the dissertation coaching, you're providing a lot of the expertise around methodology, around writing, and it's one of the things that I want to mention around writing is that my first language is not English, but I really didn't like the English language. But then somehow I fell in love with it and ended up helping people write better. I ended up editing 2 academic anthologies. So it just, fate has a funny way of changing the person.
I know. So if English wasn't your favorite, you're not loving English, you didn't love English much when you were younger. So what kind of language was your favorite one besides your own?
Well, I learned, so the 2 languages that I speak fluently are Arabic, my native language, and English, which is not my native language, but I speak at native level. And then I learned basic French. I love it, but I'm not very good at it. But I didn't put the effort. When I went to France, I realized, I actually learned something in school and was understanding some of it. And then I did Duolingo. So if I had energy to study another language, I would put effort into French, and I learned some German from my father. And then I was in Germany for several trips for business, so I learned a bit more. So these are the ones that I feel I have enough of the basics. So, but I could also learn Spanish. Romance languages are very similar, but I haven't decided to pursue any other language at this point.
Wow. I want to bring you back to your when you were younger, because now what I wrote down in here, you are the doctor who help people to become doctors. So not the medical doctor, whatever the doctor, maybe the different PhD that they are pursuing, but you're helping with the dissertation research, right? With the coaching. So you're helping make more people to spread education around. That's very noble works that you are doing. Allow me to bring you to time, okay? And let's exploring your childhood a little bit here. So when I was little, I always wanted to become an astronaut, and flying in different planets seemed pretty cool for me more. But life didn't give me any chance to do it. So I want to know, when you were young, when you were little, what was your dream about the job, the things that you're gonna be doing in your future, though?
Well, I can't say that this is, when people, I don't know about Vietnam, but in the US, it's common for kids to say, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a fire, police person. Here in Jordan, typically people hear, I want to be a doctor or an engineer. But seldom does anybody say, I want to be an AI researcher, because even in American culture, the what you see in the movies are people who are, in the army, or, you never see like rare professions where one friend of mine is a not a gamification developer. So it doesn't exist in the media that you can find out such a thing exists. So you just hear your dad or see the movies and decide, I want to be this, because you have no idea. Your world is very limited when you're so young. But anyway, when I was around 15, I was really interested in physics and science and all of these things. And a cousin of mine had studied industrial engineering. And I was like, okay, I like math, I like physics. So that's why I wanted to pursue industrial engineering. And it wasn't like a big dream, just I knew that I was good with these things. And that's how it ended up being the case. And I'm still even though I don't practice engineering anymore, but I'm still very good at it. It comes back very, very easily.
So you say that you had a dream to come to America when you were very young for education, right? You traveled with your father to Europe, to Germany, to other countries, but you decided, at young age that you prefer the education system in America to go there. So why America?
I had no idea what it was like. It was, I just knew that I wanted my sister was already studying in America. A bunch of my cousins went to America in the 80s. They all came back. So it wasn't something outside the realm of the possibility, but really I didn't know what America was. And when I was looking for university, it was based on the brochure. I have no idea where Kentucky was or or Ohio. It just, the marketing, I fell for the marketing. And then not a lot of places offered industrial engineering. So I got accepted at two places, Northeastern on the East Coast and Fresno on the West Coast. And through sheer luck, I ended up at Northeastern. So there was no foreknowledge. Now at the time, there was no internet. You could, you just ask people. My uncle, he studied at the American University in Beirut, and his professor he graduated from Massachusetts, from the Massachusetts College of Pharmacy. So he sent everybody there because that's all he knew. He loved the professor. So there was no logic to it, no research. It wasn't like at the time we knew the rankings or any of that. But my experience, I went to Northeastern for my bachelor's, and then later on it became a top 500 university. Wow. So it was, there was a bit of sheer luck. I can't say that I had the foresight about anything. I was just 17 years old, and my parents didn't know the system in the US. So it was all foreign. Now you can learn a lot with the internet and AI and all of these things.
So after graduation, you came back, you worked for your family a few years, and then you decided to pursue a career outside of the family. Why?
The kind of work that I wanted to do, it required me to leave the family business. So.
Wow. Okay. Is that normal in your country if you doing that? Because in our country, I had the same situation.
It's generally not normal.
Not normal. So how did your father say?
Well, my father had passed away, so it was my brother, and there was a bit of conflict. Also, my uncle was owned part of the business, so there was a tiny bit of conflict, but eventually,
Even so, I understand. So now you moved to become a technical salesperson, and you mentioned one word in there that I want to explore. Then you said that you just realized that you are good at consulting, okay, and you want to become a consultant. And that realization is very important because a lot of us out there working at not realizing what we are good at, so we keep carried by the day and stuff, right? So how did you have that realization that Mo is good at consulting?
It was the consultative selling. So consultative selling is, in my view, giving good advice to the client about a solution that fits their needs. So coming up with a solution, not just selling them a product that they don't need, I felt that came to me naturally. But then my view of consulting evolved because coaching, for example, is different than consulting. Are you familiar with the work of Peter Block?
Yes.
Okay, so Peter Block says there are three kinds of consultants. One is the pair of hands, so you hire somebody to create a technical manual or something. Then there is the expert consultant. So I was originally targeting to be the expert consultant, but then I learned about the field of organization development, which is the consultant doesn't create the solution themselves, but create the process by which you create the organization creates the solution. So they are a process consultant. They help with the process of the problem solving or developing the solution. So now that resonates with me a lot more than technical expert. And in some cases, technical expert is, for some cases, yes, you do need the technical expert consultant. But for other cases, when you want buy-in, you want participation, you want people to be engaged, then they have to be part of the solution. So you're working shoulder to shoulder with the client in developing the solution. It's not like, oh, here's the solution. If you interview the client and then do market research and then come back and say your strategy needs to be X, Y, and Z. A lot of the time doesn't work.
So I'm just curious a little bit here because you were working as a technical consultant, so and basically an expert in technical, right? And yes. Normally when people get into that direction, they will continue expanding the expertise in that area. But you saw the other level of consulting level, the other two level that you want to explore and get to know more. So how did you figure out those two?
It wasn't so that expert view was there until I moved to the US and started my master's program, and then I got exposed to the OD kind of consulting, the organization development kind of consulting, where you work as an equal partner with the client. So there was a shift when I was introduced to these ideas.
So we made me curious. Why did you go back to school and pursue your master, then PhD?
Well, the master's, it was because when I looked at jobs in the US, all of the consulting jobs required an MBA. So it wasn't I actually, when I was 3 years prior to my starting the master's program, I was like, I'm done with school. I'm never studying again.
Never say never.
Yes, exactly. And then the PhD was one of my instructors encouraged me to get a PhD. So he was like, you're a really good fit for a PhD program because, I was talking about ideas and, these kinds of things. So.
Wow. So you let him talk you through another 6 years of education when you say you don't want to.
Well, it wasn't supposed to be 6 years. It depends. So PhD programs vary greatly. If you go to the UK, a PhD is 3 years. In the US, it varies. Some EDD programs, professional doctorate of education, typically are just under 3 years. Then PhDs, they range. Some of them are as short as 3 years, and then some of them can be, my friend, he went to the University of Chicago. A couple of my friends went to the University of Chicago. It took them almost 10 years to finish their PhDs, but in a different field. So it really varies by field and by university and by country. So the plan was to finish sooner, but I'm pretty sure you've seen this cartoon that says your plan, and the reality, and you're like, there's a zip line, and there's like a minefield, and all of these things. So there's always your plan, and then,
that's why more when we start this program, we wanted to show people that journey, because a lot of us, we see you with the result that you are having at the moment, the works you are doing, but they will never see the up and down, and like the hustle of going through the whole process. Okay. And so for that PhD, and then you came back to Jordan again and start your own firm, your own business. Okay.
Yes.
Why you can start working for many other reputable companies and have a stable career and stuff like that? Why you want to be on your own?
It's a bit different in Jordan. There is the complexity of organizations in Jordan is on the low side. They're very traditional organizations, similar to what you find in the US in the 50s and 60s. So it's very different, but my coaching clients are outside Jordan. I only have one coaching client in Jordan. So it's a bit different mindset. And I would love to change the mindset, but it's not ready yet. Jordan is a country constantly in flux because of the current geopolitical realities in the region. So Jordan first suffered after the starting with Syrian war. Then as soon as the Syrian war kind of petered out, then COVID happened, then the Ukraine war, then the Gaza war, now the Lebanon war. So, and we're very resilient, but there are limits to resilience. So the economy has been growing at 2.5%, which is not high for a developing country.
Wow.
So
how everything looks like at the moment? Is it getting better?
Well, I think they're projecting around 2.5-3% growth over the next 2 years. If the war in Gaza ends, then we could, the economy could get restarted. But tourism is down 90% in some areas. So a lot of people are just afraid of coming to the region, even though Jordan is very stable, very secure. But some people kind of say, oh, there's a war next door, therefore it's dangerous to come. And there is a tiny bit of danger, but it's in people's minds, it's a big danger.
Wow.
So definitely the one other thing that I want to say around the PhD journey is that I took a lot of detours, but they paid off in the end. So I didn't, some people, they want to finish the dissertation or PhD in as short a time as possible. So they just focus and zoom in on just one topic. They don't care about anything else. I took a very scenic view of knowledge. In theory, my approach to a PhD is that you are an expert in your not just your topic, but in the field in general. You have a lot of expertise. And the people who just focus on one topic, they don't know anything outside that topic. For me, I took a more scenic route and explored a lot of topics: adaptive leadership, innovation and creativity, adult development, some psychology. And a lot of it paid off because then I was able to bring in my knowledge of adult development into the books that I edited, a lot of even into my coaching. So it wasn't wasted. Yes, there was extra money involved because the longer you stay in a PhD program, the more you pay, unless you get a scholarship or you're in Germany where they pay you.
Well, so why people select an easy path to go? Okay, and I believe that there's a lot of people in the PhD program, we choose the road that a lot of people travel you follow Viktor Frankl and chose the path of less travel. And by looking at the cynic root of the whole situation and took it longer, let alone about other resources that you have to put in, just the time itself very longer, right? So why did you decide to take the harder path?
I love knowledge, so there was constant struggle between I want to explore this topic and I want to finish my PhD. So I was able to pull it all in together to some degree in my dissertation. So all the extra exploration, and a lot of it I was able to reuse in writing book chapters and in my scholarship. So it wasn't wasted, but it wasn't. There was a constant struggle for me. Oh, I want to learn about this. I want to become an expert in this topic. So I have, and I don't tell people to do what I did. I actually tell them not to do what I did. I tell them, if you want to explore a topic, explore it before you start your PhD, because the money counter is running.
I see. But because of your interest in many areas, that's how the professor who invited you to the program, PhD program, saw that creativity inside of you, saw the man with ideas inside of you, saw that potential inside of you, right? So tell us, how could you live a life with ideas and generating more ideas? Why so many people out there are dry on ideas?
Part of it is out of necessity, but I want to give. So for a lot of people now, there was this before COVID, this discussion around online learning, but there is an aspect of learning that people ignore, which is the social learning, which is learning from others, and also the role of the instructor. So some people fall in love with a subject because of one instructor. Just like my uncle, he had this one instructor in Massachusetts, and he was like, So in college, I had one instructor. He was my advisor. And I would go to him and say, I want to take this course, and I don't want to take this course, and I don't want to take this course. And he would just sign on it. Because he had trust in me and my abilities. And then in my master's, I had two instructors that saw my abilities and potential. And, they would, even after I graduated from my master's, I would get together with them for lunch and coffee. So people a lot of the time say, oh, you need to get an online degree. And for some things, yes, for some people, online degrees work. But that building the relationship with one of your instructors is really important. And the dissertation coaches that I get, they failed to build that relationship with their their dissertation chairs. And then that's why they need my help. Because if the dissertation chair was giving you good advice, you wouldn't need somebody like me. So it just, this is really important in that love of knowledge. I think my love of knowledge started very early. So I'll give you a short story.
Yes, please.
My sister used to have novels for children. And my sister was 7 years older. So when I was maybe 10, I started selling them on the bus in my school. So I think maybe I was 8. Then maybe after I sold 10 or 15, I wasn't interested. I decided to read one of them. And then I was hooked, and that's how I started reading. So discounting, just looking at the books that I read since I became an adult, by mid next year, it will be 1,000 books.
Wow. Was there any other person in the family a big influencer on the journey of education?
My sister was a reader, but also we grew in a house that had books in 3 languages. My father could read German perfectly, so we had in our library, we had books in German, in English, and then in Arabic. So I think having that library really helped. Also, some of my closest friend and cousin, he read a lot, some very similar readings. My sister read. So that had an influence about how I got into reading. But it was by accident that I decided to read the books that I was selling.
Nothing got wasted, right? They're just curious.
Yeah.
I try to promote the reading culture whenever I work, whatever I get a chance to encounter within my life, right? And reading is not for everybody. Reading is for, it's really hard for some of them. Give it a try, and they slept in 10 minutes. So that little boy, 8 years old, selling books on the bus, right? And pick up one book and he read. And he fell in love with reading. So what triggered that 8 years old little boy that he realized that Mo is loving reading?
So so a lot of time in schools they try to force kids to read and stuff it's not interesting for them. So the novels that I was reading, they were crime mysteries, which was interesting for me. They had a bit of action. The characters were my age at the time, like 10 or whatever. So I think in order for kids to be interested in reading, adults can't just force what they want. You have to find something that the kid is interested in. So it could be, books around animals or insects. It could be novels. It could be whatever. The point is to get them to read. It doesn't matter what they read. Later, when they become adults, then you can worry about what they're reading. The point is just to get them fall in love with reading. For kids in the US, it could be Harry Potter. Now there's, Harry Potter is now almost 20 years old. So, there's the thing that came after. I don't know what kids nowadays read, but, so the point is get them something that gets them interested, something that sparks their imagination. I think for things like Harry Potter, for kids, it has magic, it has spells, it has all these things that the kids can resonate with. So it really doesn't, when they're kids, it really doesn't matter what they're reading. The more important thing is that they're reading. For adults, for adults, I think that finding the format that works for them. So I listen to lots of audiobooks, and I do it while doing my daily walk, and that helps me a lot. But I know some people, if they listen to audiobooks, they fall asleep. And if I do it at home, I fall asleep too. So I do it while walking. Then I finish. What I love about audiobooks is that you can set up the narration speed to more than normal speed. So normally I listen at 1.5 to 2 times the normal speed.
That's fast.
And now, and I do the same with videos on YouTube. If I want to watch TED Talk, I just put it on 1.5 to 2 times the speed. So I finish it in half the time. So I can finish more and more.
I'm curious for this interview, because normally we put it on LinkedIn, but if I put it on YouTube, what rate you gonna put? What speed?
It's probably the same. Now even I realize that when I watch a YouTube video, I'm like, it's very slow, and I go and I check, and it's already 1.5 times the normal speed. So my listening adjusted. When I started listening to audiobooks, I was doing 1.1 or 1.25. Then over time, I increased, and then my brain's ability to process increased. So maybe in 3 years, I can listen at 4 times the speed. I don't know.
Was it because you want to save time to understand it faster, or was it because you just want to...
I want to finish it faster, but it's kind of like speed reading. I haven't tried speed reading, but there are studies around it. For me, I can do some speed reading with fiction, and I know, like, when I'm reading fiction, I can skip like a whole paragraph, and it doesn't affect the quality of the reading. So whatever works for the person. There is no formula that works for everyone.
I'm just curious because lately, I saw a lot of experts telling people to slow down and enjoy the moment and taking. So now Mo is again going the road less travel by keep speeding on the video, the audio he says. So what's it for you?
It's not. You can do both. So you can slow down. So it's not like I'm finishing a book in one day. Usually it's an hour a day or 2 hours a day, and then I do other things. It's not, I still do my daily walk. Sometimes I decide not to listen to audiobooks and just listen to music. So it's not like trying to work more. Sometimes it's counterproductive. And one of the key things that I've been posting about it for 10 years on LinkedIn is the research on the number of work hours. What's the optimum work week? It's way less than, so the research came out, I think 2010 or something, that the optimal length of the work week for creative tasks is 35 hours per week, not 40 for creative tasks. But also nowadays, even a lot of countries are doing experiments with shorter work weeks, 4-day work week with the same pay. And even here in Jordan, there's one NGO. It's been a year now. They switched to a 4-day work week, and they didn't cut anybody's pay, and they managed to get almost the same amount of work done. No problems. So they successfully did it. It's been running for 1 year, and they're probably never going to go back. So I'm not pro like crazy work hours. Just the research is really not there showing any increase in productivity whatsoever.
Wow. So if we want to be creative and be more, improve our ability to be more creative, what should we do, Mo?
So one of the things, of course, there are many things you can do: sleep, physical activity. But if I was doing it, asking you a question from a coaching perspective, I would ask you to observe every day the time you are most productive. So you come back in a week or 2 weeks and say you have a diary or something and say, oh, I was most productive from this time to this time. And then you start to guard your time, trying not to have distractions during that time. So I use the word productive. It could be creative too. So I would ask you a question like, when you were most creative or innovative, what was going on? What were you doing? What were the conditions? Who were you with? So I would slowly you start to realize that maybe you're most productive when you're swimming. I get a lot of ideas in the shower, for example. But even when I was doing my own doctoral dissertation, I was reading a novel and I was extracting ideas for my own dissertation from. So everything can be a source of learning. Just a novel can be a source of learning. If you pay attention, anything, any interaction, any activity can be a source of learning, whether for creativity or for leadership. So for creativity, you could be doing one activity and then say to yourself, how can I use this activity as a metaphor towards the thing that I want to do? So it's, you have to have an open mind to just realize that anything can be a source of ideas around anything. You've seen it with biomimicry, for example. Biomimicry is finding ideas in nature and trying to apply them into more like consumer products by mimicking nature. So anything can be a source of idea, but you want to be more creative. You want to cut sugar, figure out the optimal diet, what's best for you. Not too much coffee, not too little coffee. Some people, the coffee makes them jittery, so drink something else. Take breaks. There's research around the optimal amount of concentration, like around 45 minutes, 50, and then take a break. For studying, for example, there's something called interleaving, where you study one subject for 45 minutes, then you switch the subject. And even though it might be distracting, then a week later you realize that you understood both subjects better than if you did 3 hours of study of the same topic in one night. So there is a lot of research around how to improve learning, how to increase productivity, how to increase creativity. Of course, each person has to find what works for them. So this is where a coach might ask you these kinds of questions that help you figure out when you're most productive, when you're most creative, and so on.
Earlier, you mentioned in this conversation, one word is very important, is observe. You ask your clients to observe what works for them, right? And
yes,
years ago in our human history, observation is a one critical life and death, skill for many of us. But now, why that skill becoming something that we are lack of ability to using it, and then somebody has to remind them, and you are reminding the PhD candidates who are really smart people themselves already for the basic ability. What happened to us?
Well, I think there's just 45 years ago there were only 3 channels. Now there's 500 channels, and then numerous channels on YouTube and Vimeo and all of these things. So there's, even myself, I have Kindle. I have 5 books open at any given time. My audiobooks, they have 5. So in the past, you had the luxury, if you bought a book, that's all you had. There were no other distractions. I have 5 other books to distract me. So the amount of stuff that's out there has exploded exponentially. So that's one factor. The phones now are great. Like, I really hate notifications. I keep getting notifications, emails. I really hate emails. So it just, so there's that. But also, I can't say how mindful people were in the past. I know in Eastern cultures, at least among the. So I wrote a book about spirituality. I've been meditating for 6 years. I co-edited a book about spirituality, and I also wrote one. But the point is about meditation. The mindfulness meditation is about being mindful. The goal is mindfulness when you're not meditating. So being mindful of what you're doing, and we do a lot of things around, on autopilot. So the goal of the mindfulness meditation is for you to become more mindful. And historically, Buddhism, as what was practiced in Southeast and East Asia, was the meditation wasn't the average person. It was mainly the monks who did the meditation. But when Buddhism came to the West, meditation became mainstream, not just for the monks, but for the average person in the West. And now, in the last 10 to 20 years, meditation has taken off in the West, especially in the US. And, there are a lot of meditation apps out there.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of meditation. It's not working for me. I'm still learning every day, trying to get comfortable with it.
So one of the things that I keep repeating around meditation is just like when I said with creativity, you have to find the thing that works for you. So people think meditation is one thing. It's mindfulness, but that's not true. There are more than 100 different kinds of meditation. So for you, it might not be mindfulness meditation. And even if you try it, you might not like it, but it actually might benefit you anyway. So, at least in Buddhism, there is Tonglen meditation. There's the loving kindness meditation. There are many other meditations from Buddhism, but in Hinduism, there are the Tantra-based chakra meditations. There is the mantra meditations where you repeat a mantra. So people think meditation is because in the West, mindfulness is what took off. They think meditation and mindfulness are the same, but they're not. Just mindfulness is one type of meditation.
I got it. Thanks for the explanation. I think my best time of the day, like you say, and then when you talk about observing the best time of the day, I think it's for me is a time that I walk in the morning. And like you, I have a list of TED Talks already prepared, and I just listen and keep on, on the road and enjoying that. And I think it's really helped me to be mindful about the road, the day, and the feeling inside of me. So is that a same form of mindfulness or meditation right there?
It's a bit tricky. I mean, it's maybe in a similar spirit to meditation, but it's really hard to say it is actually meditation. So, but if it helps you, it helps you. So I'm not gonna say if meditation is not for everyone. Like I tell people, if you try all these different kinds of meditation, still it doesn't work for you. Go do something else, like yoga, physical yoga, without meditation, prayer. If it depends. Whatever works for you. It could be swimming. The thing is, if an activity, so there are certain brain waves that are produced during meditation. I forgot which one, theta or beta or whatever. Whatever activity you do, if it produces the same effect as mindfulness meditation, then you're all set. It doesn't matter.
Got it. I have a few last questions for this conversation, all right? And one question I ask every speakers joining the program is about thinking, because my wife and I personally, we on the quest to help people to improve their ability to think, because we know that our thinking capability these days has been diminishing. So if we can pick the brain of experts out there or how they improve their ability to think, that would be wonderful to hear their advice. So the question for you is, how have you growing your ability to think over the years?
Yes. So for me, the topic of thinking is one of also these areas that I took a detour in. So people think there is one kind of thinking, but there are many kinds of thinking. So there is critical thinking. Then there is lateral thinking, which is related to creativity. There is design thinking. There is systems thinking. So, and there are many others. So, there are many books about thinking. One of the ones that I like is about creativity. It's called Red Thread Thinking. So, finding the red thread in something, seeing what others don't see. So there are countless books about different ways of approaching problems. And I think all of them are important, but also relevant to what's happening in the world today. Critical thinking, and what I mean by critical thinking is, I'll give you an example.
Yes.
Just yesterday or the day before, there was a meme around cancer cells and the fact that if you give them sugar, cancer gets worse, and the fact that the cancer cells use 400 times more than the average cell. So they're very energy intensive. So I decided to just ask ChatGPT, is it true that cancer cells consume 400 times more than the average cell? And ChatGPT, even though I also disagree with it in some instances, which is the critical thinking part, it said it's only 10 times. So I replied to the person who posted the meme saying, yes, this is true that cancer cells, carbs are bad for cancer cells, but the 400 times number is exaggerated. Of course, most people accept whatever is posted in a meme from an emotional point of view. So if it sounds right and it resonates with their own beliefs, then they accept it. But for me, that's not, I almost fact check every meme because the people they use emotional reasoning. The other thing that I wanted to say about critical thinking is when I interact with ChatGPT, sometimes it produces an answer. And because of the knowledge that I already have, I challenge it and say, what about this? What about that? And it comes back with a reply saying, oh, you're right. I overlooked this idea. So even when interacting with AI, always have a critical stance and challenge the whatever AI is saying if you have the knowledge to challenge it. Don't just take it at face value.
So trust but verify. Check to make sure that we got it.
Yeah. And of course, it's easier when you know a topic to challenge AI on it.
Wow. Okay, I'll go with the last question because we knew the past already. We knew your dream as young age. We knew you sold books at the bus to school, and then pick one and fall in love with reading ever since. You went to stay for school, even and went back again for PhD program. Even though you said to yourself, enough education already, no more school, right? So never say never. So in the future, we want to go into the future a little bit. Is there anything exciting you are working on, you want to share, so we are celebrating with you in advance?
Yes, I kind of want to start my own trans or arch-disciplinary university. And the reason is I don't like what's out there, and a lot of academia is still very much doing a single discipline, or sometimes they're doing interdisciplinary work, but 95 to 98% of all the universities out there are not doing transdisciplinary work. And the difference between all these concepts, inter, multi, trans, and arch, is the degree to which the disciplines stay intact. So when you're doing single discipline, the whole discipline is intact and it's not interacting with other disciplines. If you're doing multidisciplinary, then each discipline is intact, but doing work along the side of another discipline, but they're not affecting each other. When you move to interdisciplinary, then there is that they're working together, but also influencing each other. And then as you move to each level, the boundaries between the fields kind of disappear. And at some point you transcend these disciplines. So for me, that's kind of the most interesting thing to do, because I have this kind of background where I did engineering, then business, then I studied archetypal and Jungian psychology, then I did the leadership, and then I did creativity and innovation, and then I did adult development, and then I did spirituality. So just, I resonate, but it's not for everybody. Even like if there was a transdisciplinary university to my liking, it would not have 30,000 students.
I said that I have a last question, but because of what you say, I would love to ask one more, and that would be the last one.
Go ahead.
Throughout this conversation, you always go with the hard challenge, the challenging things, and people normally try to stay away from issue, try to stay away from challenges. So where did you find the strength, the energy, and the courage to face challenge head on like this?
It wasn't I chose it, it chose me.
It chose you. Share.
It's just, there is some people talk about calling. So my path is not the AC path. It is what it is. I have to accept it. My path is the long path. It's not the straight line. It's not the traditional path.
So with that, I wish you on that path, on that journey, not a lot of people travel with you. We find some people to travel with who have the same passion, the same courage, the same ambition and vision, so that your journey is not going to be lonely. Your journey going to be having a lot more fun and can have a lot more impact to many other people. All right, that's our wish for you. And if anything that we could do to support you, let us know. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, my friend, we are waiting for the next time. The next big thing is coming to Vietnam, and then we're gonna try different kind of pho, different kind of food, different kind of dishes in this beautiful country. Okay.
Yes, and you can come to Jordan too.
Yeah, yes, when it's safer, like you said earlier. It's safe, but
yeah, when the war ends.
All right, my friend. I need to let you go for other things that you are doing, and thank you so much for spending your afternoon joining the program and share your stories. And I really love you. We see you in person one day. Okay.
Yes, hope so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye bye for now.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.